Hi, I'm Dr. Suri Moonsamy. I'm 24 and I graduated in April 2015 as the youngest PhD graduate from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I completed my PhD in less than 2 years with 6 publications, and currently I also have other accolades where I also completed my Master's of Medical Science within a year, and I'm also a member of the International Golden Key Honor Society. In January 2015, I commenced my working career at the South African Medical Research Council, specifically the HIV Prevention Research Unit, as the youngest senior scientist, under the supervision of the world-leading clinical trialist, Professor Geeta Ramji. And in this environment is where I was exposed to clinical research for the first time. And being that enthusiastic and that vibrant young person who wants to make a difference in the lives of other individuals, I know usually people say that you don't find your calling much young at life because you're still going through the process, but I believe so that I found my calling. HIV still remains to be a challenging epidemic infecting millions of people worldwide over. Especially being involved in clinical research, I got exposed to clinical trials sites where they actually look for cures for HIV. And in these sites they actually look at PrEP, they test out different vaccines, which is a new thing, looking at vaccine as a cure, possible cure for HIV. And so as being a senior scientist that came into this profession, one of my job description was actually working as a study coordinator or project coordinator at the clinical site. So basically at the management level, where I got to oversee the day-to-day running of the site. That is to give you an insight, actually looking at when a participant comes in, looking at when they get registered to the time that they actually go through the clinical flow of the thing, getting administered their vaccination, seeing a counselor, seeing the physician. So when the patient's file is completed with a follow-up, then the file comes to me as the study coordinator, where before a final reimbursement I got to QC the file, do a quality check to check that all the procedures have been completed for the participants or for the patient's follow-up visit. And if there's anything outstanding, then it's my job to actually bring to the notice of that particular individual, like a research consultant or a clinician, to say that maybe this procedure has been missed out or something has not been reported, and therefore to rectify it at that time. And then once I feel that I've QC'd the file and it's fine, then it's taken for reimbursement, and then obviously the participant is given their reimbursement and they're scheduled for the next visit. Also, other things that's also involved at my duty as a study coordinator is also overseeing the day-to-day running of the staff. So obviously that's operational procedures coming into play, and that's like obviously if staff are not well, taking calls, and if there are visitors that are coming into clinic, obviously rearranging for that to make them feel welcome. There's presentation, if there's trainings for staff that need to be organized, we need to organize that as well. So as well as also being involved in clinical trials, we have this calls, it's called video conference calls. So at times you have to schedule for that as well. And we also have audit processes that you have to get ready for. When you're involved in clinical trials, you are funded. So obviously you have this audit processes that you have to go through. And in that process, we as a management, you have to go through the audit process. We have to get staff ready. You have to check the participant file to know that everything's in order for the audit process. So one of my other things as well, besides being a study coordinator, is also being involved in scientific outcomes. And in that way, I get to participate in writing grants, so bringing in money into the unit as well, to the research organization. Being involved in the publication outcomes, so in being involved in the scientific writing, in proposal, the supervision of, that capacity development is one of the main things in any research organization, to obviously uplift other individuals and motivate them and inspire them. So in that as well, we also have to supervise interns and masters and postgraduate students to obviously look at funding and also develop them as well, to obviously expand our research skills. So one of the things I should say is that my PhD focused on computational molecular modeling and drug design. So I actually focused on HIV targets and actually looking at designing more drugs that are more potent and inhibiting these enzymes, taking into account the FDA approved drugs. And my results were promising because I looked at different techniques and I introduced more protocols that could design these drugs and had the potential to be synthesized and experimental into taken into clinical trials. So from your phase 1 into your phase 2 into your phase 3, actually when these drugs could be FDA approved and be in use. Another thing also taking into account that my molecular modeling also showed novel insights from a different perspective, because people only take into account vaccines and PrEP. So why not in clinical trials use these computational techniques where you can actually get preliminary results into your clinical trials? So that's one of the things, taking into account my skills that I've learned, and especially in HIV, if we have to design a clinical trial, actually using my computational techniques, I can actually have preliminary results to actually say if this clinical trial, if the design is actually going to work, and what could be the results. So as a young South African female who has an ardent love for medicine and research, and particularly medical research and clinical research, I felt that this is my calling, and that I wanted to help people that are less advantaged from me, to help make a difference, especially with HIV/AIDS. I mean, knowing that me as a young individual, I'm at high risk of acquiring HIV/AIDS. Working in the clinical trials and being exposed to clinical research in a short spectrum of time has opened my eyes to the fact that young unmarried women are among the high-risk individuals for HIV acquisition. And being a young enthusiastic female, I know that I want to make a difference in the lives of these individuals. And being a clinical researcher is that way forward to take a stand and make the difference. I believe as well, as a young South African born who considered in seeking greener pastures abroad, I believe as one of the future leaders of this country, I would be a great ambassador for this profession, especially in the health of women, and contributing to taking a stand towards HIV and AIDS, and actually saying that we can fight this infectious disease. And I believe that after all, charity begins at